Good work as always from Faye Carruthers, talkSPORT's England correspondent, who joins us now live on the phone. Hello, Faye. Good afternoon to you.
Hello. I'm actually at Wembley, bizarrely, even though the announcement wasn't at Wembley. I'm here for a conference, so fantastic views of the pitch.
What kind of conference are you doing this afternoon?
Women in Football conference.
Oh, wow.
It's brilliant. I know. I'm missing Emma Hayes' keynote speech just to talk to you two.
We'll be quick. We're honoured. To be fair, they will be fantastic, so we won't keep you long. Listen, let me ask you about Gareth Southgate. No Marcus Rashford, a few other players that aren't in the squad that you could argue maybe should or shouldn't be, and vice versa for players that are in it and perhaps shouldn't. Do you think Gareth Southgate has his favourites when he's picking an England squad, Faye?
Well, I mean, I think he has to rely on people who he's relied on in the past. You know, I asked him about Harry Maguire because all the narrative recently has been about Harry Maguire's form. I heard Darren say that earlier, is that many people were really surprised to see Harry in the side. And actually, Gareth Southgate said he understands that, but you can't always just go on club form. He's always been fantastic when he's put on an England shirt, Harry Maguire, and that's what Gareth Southgate's going with when he picks this squad. He also says it's positionally important. There's a lot of competition for places in the forward line. As I mentioned to him there, defensively, not as many centre-backs. And so when he was talking about blooding in some of the newer, less experienced players in terms of Mark Gahey, for example, as a centre-back, he wants to play him alongside somebody with experience. So you would think that that's what you're going to see. Players like Ben White as well, you know, still actually only had 2 England caps. They're 2 younger players who are coming into this squad, who are perhaps the future defensively, but they need to play alongside some experience, and that's why he's picked the players that have done it for him in the past.
It's quite surprising, that, Faye, and I get that with the experience, but you look at someone like Fikayo Tomori, who's been absolutely fantastic for AC Milan over in Italy. I mean, what type of message does that send to him? Because if you look at this season, certainly Harry Maguire's had no form. He's probably having the season of his life and still can't get into a squad.
No. He's spoken about Fikayo Tomori, and he said that they're watching him for sure, but perhaps he's just not quite ready yet. But this is one of 3 camps leading into the World Cup in November and December. I would be surprised if we didn't see Fikayo Tomori before that called up to the senior squad. I just think Gareth Southgate said they're watching him. He's superb. What he doesn't want to do, which he's always very conscious of doing, is just blow too much smoke and too much promise up a lot of these players, and then them not realise it. They've got to be ready, and so that's what I think he's waiting for. And it's such a difficult balance. I'm with you on Fikayo Tomori. I think he's absolutely excellent, but again, it's different, isn't it? You talk about Serie A. It's a different level to the Premier League in many ways. When you look at it, there are none of the Italian sides progressed to the quarterfinals of the Champions League, for example. It's a slightly different standard, I would say, nowadays.
Listen, we've got 2 friendlies coming up in the space of 3 days, Switzerland, then the Ivory Coast. Then, of course, we've got the National League games in June. Do you expect the 2 games next week, do you expect Gareth to experiment quite a lot with his lineup or not? Or do you think it will be a blend of youth and inexperience with key players?
I think it's going to be a blend. I mean, he talked about the absence of Kyle Walker, for example, and that was to give Trent Alexander-Arnold and Reece James a bit more game time, which they, particularly Trent, because he was injured for the Euros, weren't able to get, whereas he knows what Kyle Walker can bring. So yeah, I think you'll definitely see a mixture, because you know there isn't very long until the World Cup. You know, we're 8 months out from it, and very little time, as you say, to be able to watch them. So he's going to be seeing how people blend in terms of the dynamic, because he's got quite a core group of players that he selects regularly, and in order to break into that, players have got to be able to not just fit the mould on the pitch, they've got to fit the mould behind the scenes as well.
Faye, I'm guessing, when you look at the goalkeepers in the squad as well, now we know Jordan Pickford has never ever let Gareth down. Gareth trusts him. But when you look at the form of Aaron Ramsdale this season, that must give Gareth something to think about in terms of his number 1.
It's a good problem to have. You know, Sam Johnston missed out, for example, this time round. Nick Pope back in, and, you know, we were talking about Nick Pope pushing Jordan Pickford before he got injured just before the Euros. So the fact that there are at least 4 fantastic goalkeepers for Gareth Southgate to have this kind of headache, I think is a positive thing in particular. And there are still some questions over Aaron Ramsdale. You could argue he was at fault last night for the opening goal. So, you know, I think certainly Jordan Pickford in an England shirt is a very different Jordan Pickford to the one that we see in an Everton shirt at the moment.
Only one left back, that's Luke Shaw. Is that a surprise or not?
Well, you could argue that Reece James can play on both sides, and also Bukayo Saka has played on the left, although obviously he's better as a right winger where he's been deployed for Arsenal this season. But there are other options, and I suppose it depends on what formation he's going to go for. But question marks over Luke Shaw, and because he had COVID, he had an injury before that, and Gareth Southgate did say, this squad could potentially change quite a lot after the FA Cup games this weekend and Premier League as well.
Faye, just finally, do you think if there was a World Cup final tomorrow, Gareth Southgate would know his best 11 if everyone was fit?
Not at the moment, no. I don't, because I think the dynamic changes, and I think things change a lot. And I think 8 months ahead, there's a long time to go. You saw exactly what happened ahead of the Euros with players getting injured and question marks over players being included in the squad. So I see what you mean with the question, but I think there's so much to change beforehand that wouldn't be the case.
Faye, always a pleasure. We'll let you get back to what you were doing. Enjoy it. Thanks so much for your time. We'll speak to you in a bit.
Thank you. Can I just say before I disappear?
Of course you can.
My son is 5.5 months. I guarantee he's going to break that world record and walk first.
Well, he's only got 2 weeks to do it in.
I know. Well, he'll do it. Don't worry.
He'll do that.
He's crawling a lot, though, right? He's crawling a lot. Yeah.
No, he's not even crawling yet. He's going to go straight to the walk-in.
Apparently, that's impossible.
It's not impossible.
Apparently, that's impossible, Faye.
According to you, it's impossible.
No,
I go with Darren Bent, and Darren Bent said it's not impossible.
Listen, Darren Bent doesn't even know how to spell his own name, so I wouldn't. Faye, listen, let us know if you get within 2 weeks and little Carruthers is walking about, then text in or phone up and let us know, and we've got a world record coming your way.
I will do. Speak to you soon.
There you go, the wonderful Faye Carruthers. Imagine that 6 months you got a little baby walking about. I mean, it's bad enough they crawl and you spend most of your time just bent over going, come here, watch that, sharp that corner. Then walking about 6 months. They are, babies at that age are like wasps with machine guns, aren't they? Just going everywhere.